Hey there, my friends. What's going on? It's Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. And I am thrilled to have you all on the show this morning. As always, thanks for Joanne for filling in for the couple of days this week. Got a lot going on. We'll fill you all in later. Uh, my friends, we are back to um, talking to a former restaurant worker. Okay. And how many people have we seen who have worked in the restaurant and hospitality industry who have made a transition into these skills and into this as a side hustle or a second career? Erica, tell us all about it. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Where are you calling in from?
So we're outside of Boulder, Colorado.
Okay. Love Colorado.
Yeah.
So what brought you to Legendary? Were you looking for something? And if so, what was it?
Yeah, I definitely was. So we moved out here a few years ago. I was working in restaurants. I've always liked working in restaurants, no issue with that. Then the pandemic hit, and like everyone, we lost our jobs. Um, and then fast forward, we had a baby, and I just knew that like moving forward, the restaurants weren't going to really be an option. You're not going to make a lot of money working at a breakfast restaurant, which is when daycares are open. So then you'd have to hire a private nanny, which of course is even more expensive, and just like it just didn't sound like it was going to work.
Yeah.
So we started looking for other things that I could do. We bought a house because we were okay being just a one income family for a while, just my husband's income. But, we bought a house, and a mortgage is a lot more expensive than rent. So I needed to do something that I could still do at home and only a few hours a day. And probably like every other person, I saw somebody on Instagram talking about it and thought, you know what? It's $7. What's the worst? I had nothing to lose and everything to gain, right? So I decided to jump in.
Yeah. And so, have you done anything in the past, anything outside of the restaurant and hospitality industry or profession?
Not really. No, no. Mostly I've done various jobs within that, going back from like hostess all the way up to, I was a food and beverage director, I was an event coordinator. So things that weren't necessarily serving tables, but still in the industry. Yeah. Still
Yeah.
people related.
Nothing digital though, nothing on the internet.
Not really. No. No. I mean, I am a millennial, so I like to think that I have some base level knowledge, but
Right, right. So what's it been like for you to, really do something that yeah, you have an iPhone or whatever and you're on
yeah.
social media, but that's not really what we're talking about
No.
here
Yeah.
as you're now realizing.
Yeah.
So what's that been like for you to make this transition into doing more stuff online in this digital and even being on camera?
Yeah, I think that it's been really great. I really have, I mean, you're forced out of your comfort zone to do things that you never thought you would ever need to even know how to do, right? I didn't know what a sales funnel was. I didn't know any of these kind of terminologies. So it's been a really great learning experience. I really enjoy being kind of a lifelong learner like that. I like learning new things. So it's been really fun trying to figure out, how to get your funnel working, how to get your autoresponder connected, things like that. I'm just so thankful for the legendary community too. Like that Facebook, I mean, gosh, people know everything. And it's so helpful. And everybody's just so willing to share, which is so, so, so great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really good. It's been really fun.
How important do you think that is to have people to tap into, to have people to lean on, to have people to ask questions to that are not particularly tied to your position or
Yeah.
your team or anything like that, but just a
Yeah.
people of a community we like to think of entrepreneurs and freelancers. What is it like to have this sort of community to be able to, you can ask a question, you can also go and do some, you can do some spy work too by
Mhm.
just, clicking on over to their actual profiles, getting on their list, seeing what people are doing. What's the value of that been to you?
It's everything, right? It really is everything. People sharing your common experience, your common problems, your common goals, your common I mean, it really, it's everything, and everybody is so welcoming. And that's not always the case in stuff like this, I find. People are competitive, they don't want to share
Yeah.
their secrets, things like that. But that is not at all this community. And that's one of its largest selling points, I think.
Yeah, you're right. And I've experienced some of that. I think we all have. Um, there is a learning curve in terms of knowing how to become a good student, though, as well. We
Mm-hmm.
all want to be the boss, and that's ultimately the goal, is to
Mm-hmm.
own our own business, own our time, be the shot caller in our life. But I've really found that in order to be the great boss that we all want to be, we first have to be a great student. And that's been difficult for a lot of people to kind of be new again at something and kind of suck a little bit at first. How are you embracing that, not embracing that? What's it been like to be new at something and the vulnerability that goes along with that? How are you pushing through that?
It is hard, and it's hard not to play the comparison game, right, of people that aren't new anymore and seeing their success. But I think I don't know, I just tend to thrive in learning new things. I'm not someone that tends to get down on myself for not knowing something. I try to look at others as the inspiration and not, jealousy or some of these other feelings that could perhaps come up. And just tapping into that community and saying, hey, I'm new. And nobody ever makes you feel like, well, you should know this. And nowadays, it's so easy to be new at something, I find. You can find a YouTube video explaining anything in the world that you need, explained to you. So I don't know. I don't find being new at something that challenging. I like it. Hmm.
That's awesome. And for those of you who do find being new at something very difficult, you're not alone,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with you. It's probably just a muscle that you haven't worked in a long time. Really, being new at something, just like anything, any characteristic of your personality, really, and in your ability to be able to do something, unless there's some deep rooted issue. But most of the time, it's just because we haven't worked that muscle out. It's like going into the gym and doing bench presses. Wow, my chest is tight. Well, I haven't pushed anything off my chest in 10 years.
Yeah.
That's why it's tight.
Yeah.
So once we do that, and then do it enough, we work that muscle out. It's not as sore the third, fourth, fifth, sixth time. Um, how what has the vulnerability of being out there just on the internet? Before, you weren't you were a social media person. You mentioned millennial, so I've got some technology
Yeah.
experience because I've been forced to. But what's it been like for you? Have you found that scary? Have you found that empowering? And what's the process been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I started this, I'd never made a reel before, or, I didn't even have a TikTok. Like, I didn't need another app wasting my time, right? Is how I felt. Um, but it's been good. It's been challenging, definitely, to learn some of those new skills. But I am not someone who shies away from public speaking and things like that. So I wasn't necessarily that nervous about putting my face out there. Of course, everyone is nervous about judgment, or they have the fear of what are people going to think about me and things like that. But that's not a reason to continue ahead with your own life and your own goals, is kind of how I tell myself and what I tell myself. Just because somebody else may judge what I'm doing doesn't mean that I shouldn't be doing it.
Hmm.
To just kind of push through those thoughts. And, I have had success, so that's their own loss. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And that can really happen anywhere, right? I mean, that can
Absolutely.
happen at any job, at any
Absolutely.
place. You can find bullies, you can find people who are going to ridicule you. I mean, you might as well just kind of
Yep.
make the most out of it, because there's always going to be those bullies or those, naysayers.
Yeah.
You said that you're getting results being honest.
Yeah.
Can you say more about that?
Well, I've had a lot of people in my DMs, and they say one of the things they like the most is how relatable I am, how honest I am. You know, I started my page before I had even, I started my page when I started the challenge, and I started talking about each day of the challenge. Because so many people are so curious, but they don't want to take the whole $7 risk for whatever reason. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just let people know, you know, what it's about, my own personal feelings, my own personal thoughts. And I think that that's really helped. It's helped people get to know me. It's helped people trust me. It's helped people just like feel that I am just like a relatable everyday person. Um, and yeah, just being honest with what I'm promoting, who I'm promoting. Um, I don't talk about earnings, obviously, but you know, just everything that I can give to them, I do give. You know.
What if to fill in some context,
Yeah.
does that mean that you might say, hey, the course, for example, and I'm just trying to make this generic, you can
Sure.
be more specific, just so people can see that this sort of marketing really is can apply to anything is
Mhm.
in is I know exactly what you're talking about. Or at least let me see if I do. It's where you say, hey, this is a course that I'm promoting. It's not perfect. It's
Mhm.
not everything. It's not going to change your life for $7. There's pros and cons to it, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest about that.
Yeah.
And but this is why, despite those
Hmm.
pros, despite those objections, skepticisms that you have, that I also had, and right, that
Yeah.
you should have, because
Mhm.
there's a lot of BS out there on the internet.
Mhm.
Despite the pros and the cons, I still recommend this. I recommend this as something that can help you and
Yeah.
maybe even change your life, etc. Is that what you mean by
Yeah.
trying to give
Exactly.
people more of the whole picture instead of overselling something as
Yeah.
if it's just a life-saving end all be all?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of just telling them, look, this is what you're going to get. You're still going to have to put in a lot of work. You're not just going to take this course and then next month be off and running and quitting your job. And I mean, maybe you will. Maybe you will have that success because some people honestly have, you know, and you never know who that person is going to be, is also what I say. You know, like I'm sure every person that has had crazy success in just a couple of months, they were hoping that was going to be them, but they didn't know it would be. So how do you know that's not going to be you as well? You know, but yeah, just being honest with, you know, some of what the course lacks, some of what the course gains, because I think you gain so much more than you lack. And
Yeah,
just being honest about that, you know, just being
yeah,
honest about who you are, the struggles that I've had, the wins that I've had, you know, yeah. And just
yeah.
always being very open. People, lots of people DM me, people that haven't purchased the course from me that are already affiliates, maybe with someone else, and want to ask questions and connect. And I'm very open to that.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, I find that yeah, just really shooting straight, just really
Mhm.
being direct. People just feel respected. I mean,
Yeah.
not only is has it always been the best way to sell or
Hmm.
market or share anything, but when somebody asks you a question,
Yeah.
they have limited time, and you know what? You have limited time to be
Yeah.
able to give them an answer
Hmm.
that's really going to hit the nerve, not just be some surface level game playing
Yeah.
or sales trick to where you try to turn it around on them and ask them a question. Just giving people information in a clear, concise, honest way, and letting them continue to chase you, right?
Hmm.
Letting them continue to chase you. Never go into hunter mode. Always stay hunt. Never go into you being the hunter. Always remain the hunted,
Yeah.
right? Invite people. And that seems like it's what's happening with you. People are reaching out to you. You're the
Yeah.
hunted rather than you chasing people down, DMing them, doing outbound and you
Yeah.
hunting them. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. That is definitely not my style. I definitely don't want to be gimmicky or salesy. I just want to share my personal experience. And if that resonates with you, then great. Come on over. Like, let's be friends, you know? Let me help you. Let me show you. Let's help each other. and that's definitely where I have found the most success, is building those relationships more than ever trying to sell anything to anybody.
Yeah. So how do you usually create your content, and what is the call to action you usually use at the end?
I batch my content. I've got a toddler, so I try to create everything on 1 to 2 days, and then I just
For the
post it.
week?
Yeah, for the week. And then I just post it throughout the week. I like to post twice a day. I don't always do that, but that's my goal, is twice a day. And I just kind of whatever is inspiring me. My call to action is usually to check out my free beginner's guide, or to send me a message, or to comment below if you have more questions. I love when people, especially skeptics, ask me questions. I don't mind. I would lay it all out there, right? That's kind of how I feel. And if, you don't agree, you don't agree, move on.
Do you like to field questions in the written form, or do you like to field questions and then make videos, audios, or even answer things on lives?
A little bit of both. It just depends on how in depth the question is, right? If somebody leaves me, a whole paragraph question, it might just be easier, especially if it's in my DM. Sometimes I'll do like the little voice record and leave them like a voice recording. Again, especially with a toddler, I try not to be on my phone around a bunch. So it might be quicker for me just to like voice something to someone rather than typing it all out. If
Mhm.
it's a really, like, Instagram has the question box. If it's a simple question, I'll probably just write a little answer. If it's something that I feel that could be elaborated on, I'll do a video response. So just a good combination kind of everything. Just depends on the question. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you started, not now, when you have a
Mhm.
bit more confidence and you feel like you're kind of in your groove a little bit more, and you kind of know how to respond to, questions on lives, or kind of how did you start out? How did you start? What was your very first couple of pieces of content? And then how did you feel confident to be able to deliver information, edutainment, as I call it, value? How did you feel confident to just do those first few videos? And essentially, what did you talk about?
The first few videos were me reviewing the challenge. So that was a little bit easier because I had a very specific and set topic to discuss. So I didn't feel like I had to be super creative and come up with this thing that I needed to talk about. I already had what I wanted to talk about. So I
Mhm.
found that very helpful. And I did that for all 15 days of the challenge. So that right there was 15 days worth of content that did
Mm,
kind of help me get my feet wet and helped me start building a little bit of a community. And when you're first starting out, I mean, you're talking maybe to 100 people, so that makes it a
yeah,
little bit, easier to do as well. But I think a lot of people don't realize, a lot of my reels, I don't just film once and they're done. It might take me multiple takes.
yeah,
People just don't see that. So I think other people do kind of tend to get down on themselves, or think like, oh my God, it took me, 10 times to film that, and everybody else. But you don't know that everybody else, it probably took them 10 times as well. Until you get your feet wet. Now it doesn't necessarily always take me that long, but it
yeah,
definitely is a learning process, and you just have to embrace it. And it is what it is, and you'll get better, and you'll figure it out, and you'll figure out what all the little buttons mean, and you'll get faster at it, is what I've really done.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Speed of implementation is so
Yeah.
important, and you're right. Just using the tools, the apps, it gets easier just
Hmm.
with days. Doesn't take
Yeah.
months, takes literally days.
Yeah.
How So, the strategy that you just laid out, the idea of reviewing a course,
Hmm.
okay, reviewing a course that you took, and even finding multiple, not just thinking that you have to
Yeah.
do the review in one video, but pulling multiple. I mean, my lord, how many lessons? Most of you
Yeah.
have notebooks that you take.
Hmm.
I know you do, because I see you when you come to the mastermind. People just got their notes there. I know you're taking notes.
Yeah.
So, man, each one of those notes, think about that, not just in the terms of, hey, I want to write this down and come back to it. Think of it in terms of, let me write this down so I can then create a piece of
Yeah.
content about this in the future,
Yeah.
because that will help me both to have an idea for content. It will also help get me in front of practicing,
Hmm.
creating content. And And it's the truth is until I'm able to really explain it to somebody else, do I really know it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so true. I definitely have heard, because same, yes, I definitely took notes, and I have referred back to my notes to think like, oh, okay, so I wrote a lot of notes on this topic. So this is clearly something that was interesting or value giving. How and what can I do to make content around this particular topic that would
Yeah.
be valuable and helpful to other people? Yeah,
Yes.
so there's so many avenues that you can do to come up with ideas for your content like that. Yeah.
And for those of you who are starting or going through education, which we probably all are, in some way, shape, or form, even if you're just reading a new book, we make a wonderful recommendation for Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is a great mindset book for those of you who need to, just kind of reset the mindset and figure out, okay, what am I doing this for? Where am I going? Where am I going to end up if I continue down the path that I'm on versus taking this bit of an uncomfortable risk right now? Where are those two paths going to lead me? You'll learn a lot, but guess what? Through that book, how many notes, how many video ideas, how many, and you know
Yeah.
what? I
hmm
mean, we talk about this. It's not a secret. You now can take something like a paragraph of content or even a just write me 15, go to some of these artificial intelligence, chat GPT, etc. Write me 15 video ideas on this topic. I
Yeah.
mean, write me a script for this video idea.
hmm
So there's content nowadays, and I've been talking about this for a couple of years now. I almost think of us at marketers as media companies, because this content that you're creating, we may feel like it's one and done. It doesn't matter, because when we're new, when we post videos up, they don't get a lot of follows, they don't get a lot of views, etc. So we think, oh, that was wasted time. But what you don't realize is that each video that you do, take it out of TikTok or whatever the native app that you made it in. Usually right now everybody's making their videos in TikTok. Well, download it out of TikTok, put it, save it in a Google Drive folder, because guess what? Eventually, when you keep doing this, your channels will grow, your email list will grow,
Yeah.
your social media accounts will grow. And guess what? Every single video, including the very first video that you ever shot, is marketing content that can be repurposed.
hmm
And quite frankly, from the very beginning, should be repurposed to multiple platforms. The moment after you get done on TikTok, you should immediately be taking that and putting that on other platforms. But are you starting to see the bigger picture in terms of the value of building an email list, the value of all this content you're creating? It's not just a one and done, the value of and the power of creating a video and having people watch it 24/7, or
hmm
even what we're doing now with over 400 people live on a that you and I are speaking
Yeah.
one slash two to many.
hmm
Are you starting to think about this bigger than you did when you first got involved, as you're starting to see the value of, again, your email list, this kind of media library that you're building up,
Yeah.
and the power of the leverage that that you now have at your fingertips?
Yeah, I think, starting is what gives you the confidence to keep moving forward. And you can revisit those, yes, save those videos, and then, like, maybe your first few weren't great, but you could still, maybe the idea was great. So as you get more confident, you can also remake some of those videos. And chances are, if you started with 0 followers and now you're 6 months into it, you probably have many more. So they didn't even see those first videos, perhaps. So
Mm,
it's not, we feel like maybe, oh, well, we've already talked about that. But that doesn't mean that everyone has seen it or remembers it like you do, because you're the one that created it.
yes.
So we tend to think like, oh, I need to have all of these fresh new ideas. But really, I mean, there's been no easier time to start a business like this. Like you said, with the AI, they'll write your scripts for you. I don't recommend that. You probably want to put your own personal spin on things so people know and like you. That's why they're going to buy from you. But yeah, it's never been easier. I think that it's very easy now to repurpose videos. It's very easy. Yeah, I don't know. It's never been easier, and it's been really fun to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. So how is it how is the family, the friends, how has that been for you navigating through that particular compartment of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's like one of the most common things that people ask me about. Like, well, I want to start, but I don't want anybody to know. Like everybody is, scared before they have success. But, I mean, if you're scared of your friends and family finding out, well, they're going to be hopefully the people that are most supportive to you. My husband has been nothing but supportive. Same thing with my friends. It is a little, you do feel a little, I feel weirder about them watching my videos than I do about perfect strangers, right? Which I'm sure everyone feels that way,
Yeah.
but you just got to push through that because, again, they should be your biggest cheerleaders. You shouldn't be afraid for them to see your content and things like that because they should be nothing but supportive.
Mm. Yeah. Now, that's not always the case. That
It
doesn't
isn't.
always
No.
that it doesn't always feel that way.
Yeah.
But I can give you a surefire way right here, right now to get every single person on your team. And if they're not on your team after this, then they probably shouldn't be on your team. I don't want to know what it is.
Yeah.
Start making money,
Yeah. Right.
start getting results. I mean, because and they may not even like it, but they'll respect it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you'll respect it. What they'll respect more than anything is they'll respect the fact that you respect you.
hmm
And because we really do. Entrepreneurship's a great example of how we train people how to treat us.
Yeah.
Because you're really walking out into the marketplace wide open. In our family dynamics, we train people how to treat us, and in our friendships and stuff like that, we train people how to treat us. And obviously we don't deserve everything we get. I'm just saying that we allow things. Um and and when we go out into to when we start marketing, people vote with their wallets. It's more of a, you can really you cut right through all of the emotional stuff. And although marketing is very emotional, I find it easier to execute and get results and convince strangers than I ever did convincing my friends and family, because there was too much. It was difficult for them to see me differently than they
Yeah.
saw me as like a little kid, or as they saw me back when we were buddies in the neighborhood or whatever. They could never get that image out of their head, right? Whereas when I'm presenting or talking to or messaging a complete stranger who doesn't have all of that previous
Yeah.
prejudgment
hmm
already inside of their head, that pre kind of almost projection
hmm
of who they think I am before I even start talking. You almost have a clean slate. And so for a lot of you who are scared about strangers, um, I just want to remind you that you'll probably find a whole new tribe,
Yeah.
potentially even some of the friends, best friends that you'll ever have, when you start to put out your message that way. You'll attract the people who celebrate you, not just tolerate you,
hmm
right? And those are fun people to be around. And
Yeah.
then I've learned a little bit more about how to attract people who celebrate me, and not just tolerate me. And that's risen the quality of my relationships just in general, because I didn't sit over here and try to, you know, convince these friends and family to, you know, believe in me or whatever. I just said, all right, screw it. I mean, I'll just go take this message to the market, and see what people say. And they did reject it at first, but it wasn't because of any of my customers were taking anything personal. It just, there wasn't enough in it for them yet in
hmm
order for them to really take action. So I really learned a lot more about the dynamics of this marketing piece, and that I really have to focus on what's in it for them. How have you how have you been able to, or how are you getting out of your own way to market what people want instead of always what you want or think that they should have. Do you know what I mean? A lot of times we get into this and we think, for example, we got to like tell our personal story, tell our life story, make it all about us. People get really in their head and nervous and overwhelmed about getting on camera because they think that they have to reveal all their dirty laundry and stuff like that. When in fact, on the internet creating content, people don't really care about any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we shouldn't take that personally, but they're only there for one reason. What's in it for them? Completely selfish. It can't be at all about us or what we like or whatever. And every story has to have a purpose when we tell it. How have you found that? How have you delivered value through content without getting overwhelmed thinking that you need to get too personal with people or have this kind of big, personal story that's tied to your marketing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that you should just set up your own personal boundaries of like what you will and won't talk about, things like that. Because there is a fine line of you want to be a relatable person that people feel comfortable, purchasing from or feel comfortable just kind of knowing. But you also, you're right. Like I don't show my toddler's face ever on Instagram. You can hear her screaming in the background, but I want to keep that side of my life private. And also just kind of looking at analytics because you're right. Most people are thinking solely about themselves, just like you maybe are thinking solely about yourself and like, oh, I'm going to share my story and that's going to resonate with other people and blah, 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 blah. But really, those other people are thinking about themselves. So, how can you create content that speaks directly to them? So I do look a lot at like my analytics, like what videos do better. And you're right, most that are more of a personal story don't do as well as ones that could help a wide variety of people, because that's what you really want. And then that takes away some of the pressure. You're not just
Yeah.
talking about yourself, you're not talking about your own personal story. Of course, throw some of those videos in. That's a honestly, stories in Instagram is a better place for that.
Yeah.
People can get to know your day to
Going
day.
live as
Yeah,
well is a great,
live,
you know.
things like that. Yeah, but your day to day content, I mean, half the time you don't even have to show your face if you don't want to. You can just throw some B roll with either talking behind it or a script on the screen. And that's a really good way, I think, especially to get started when you are nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. Great ideas and great tips there. I think that, it's really it's a mental shift to go from always talking about ourselves in most situations, because
Mhm.
that's what we've just been taught by kind of not great communicators in society. They just talk about themselves.
Mhm.
If you really pay attention, people just really just only and always talk about themselves. Very rarely do you have somebody who's got enough self-awareness that in situations they're like like asking others questions, engaging people like
Yeah,
that, right? That's a real skill
it
to
is. Mhm.
not just like nervously talk about yourself or whatever and then drone on and on. And the same thing is true in your videos, especially if they're only going to be 30 to 60 seconds. You can bond with people, you can tell people more about your story, in either your bridge page video, but more importantly in your follow-up emails and later in your,
Yeah.
get them the information, stay concise. It's not about you. It's
Yeah.
not about you. It's about them. And they're looking for information as they scroll through, laying in bed or wherever they are, fast. And so you have to get the email and get them to click on your affiliate link for whatever product you're promoting. That's your goal, whether they buy or not,
Yeah.
because now at least you got the email and they're cookied to your link. And so
Mhm.
if they do buy, that's really the main goal. And you can't do that at any time if that little brain of theirs goes squirrel.
Yep. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it's really true. And you're right about the content being quick and concise. I can be a talker, and that is often how I end up editing my videos. Like, oh, I talked way too much. If I am bored watching my video when I'm editing it, then I know it's no good. And you got to scrap it. And it's just quick. These are the facts. I'm out.
And using the editing tools, editing between the gaps between when
Yeah.
you're talking. I mean, on a 30-second video or 60-second video, that's not a ton of edits. We call those jump cuts. To do those little jump cuts, really keeps people's attention. And those used to be really difficult to do, but now you can do them right there on the apps.
Yeah.
And really a couple of, just to keep it moving, just to keep it, I think when we get into making these videos, we don't remember is all you got to do is pay attention to trailers on movies or anything else. If the scene doesn't change within a couple of seconds, notice that literally the entire scene changes within and you'll even see that on shows. I mean, just watch very, very rarely do you see long scenes, especially not at the beginning of shows or movies. That's because they want, it doesn't hook you in as well.
Yeah, I've heard somewhere that there's like a 3-second rule. Like if you're, and it's true, if you're watching
the 3-second rule applies to so many things in life.
Right. But yeah, if in every 3 seconds the screen or the scene changes in a movie or a show, and if you pay attention, it is true. So your online content should be similar, because people have an even shorter attention span because there's a million other videos that they can scroll through.
So what would that mean for your videos? Well, you could talk and then you edit those, or most people nowadays who are creating content are just, hey, my friends, this is Dave. And that's a part.
Yeah.
I wanted to invite you to this video today because what I'm doing, I've never done before. Right? Those are, you chunk it up into little pieces like that. And you could do the same thing, even if it's just text on screen.
Yeah, exactly.
For many years, and even if you go and look at a lot of my sales videos that I create, they're still VSL style video sales letter, where I bring in a couple of words at a time for the viewer to read, and then it changes. You'll notice even on the sales video that sells the 15-day challenge, you'll always see constant moving, changing, and especially the text on screen only allowing for, you don't want to put a big chunk of text there, because then somebody's sitting there staring at the screen and it's hard to read and it doesn't keep their attention. You want, boom, a line of words, and then boom, another line of words. And then so the person's constantly like, it's almost like a movie book, those are the videos that, and those were groundbreaking ways to sell products online 10 years ago. For the first 15 years of the internet or whatever, and I wasn't on it then, they only mostly sold things through long form sales letters. You'd pull up on the page and you'd have to scroll for 20 minutes through a big long sales letter. Well, marketers started taking those words and just putting them in a video, a sentence at a time, and just reading it in the video, a sentence, or, you know what I mean? And now we've added more graphics and made them a little bit more interesting as the years gone by, but the concept is still there. And so you could even do that on a 30 to 60 second TikTok video, to where you just, instead of just putting the video up and laying all the text on the screen there where somebody's got to stare at it for 60 seconds, write a couple of words at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And keep it going like that, keep it engaged so they're waiting. The most simple marketing rule is, what's the main goal of getting somebody? What's the main goal of the first page of a book?
Yeah, to hook you,
To get them to read the second page.
Yeah.
What's the goal of the second page? Get them to read the third page. So instead of thinking about how do I get them to watch the whole video, you have to figure out, how do you get them to watch the first 15 seconds?
Yeah.
And you do that by adding or either changing the scene or only putting so many words on the screen at a time to, as you said, change things up every about 3 seconds or so. And I see this in emails and so forth too. People do big clumps of text. When somebody looks at that, that's hard to read. Break that stuff up.
Yeah.
And put more white space, because it's not only easier for people to read and consume, but it also keeps them engaged in scrolling versus, just sitting there staring at the same thing for more than, as you say, 3 seconds. You'll notice a lot of copywriters, we'll only write a sentence at a time and then hit return and move to the next, and then a sentence or 2 sentences and then hit return again, instead of that big block of text, because it's simply harder to read. It's
Yeah, it makes
harder when
it
you're
so much more
staring at it.
it makes it so much more like easy to digest, right? People are going to be way more likely to continue reading. If I open an email and it looks, 6 paragraphs long, well, I'm probably going to skip right past it. But if it's just like a couple little sentences, it seems so much easier to get through. And I think it's the same
Exactly.
with video content.
It's the exact same thing.
Mm,
That's one of the reasons why even on our sales video, we don't show the length of the video.
mm,
And when somebody first lands on our challenge page, they don't even see all the text below. It's just a video with a couple of minute timer.
mm.
That 2.5 minute timer, once that gets down to 0, the rest of the page opens up. But it's to try to hook them in those first 2.5 minutes to get them to watch instead of scrolling the page and trying to do that quick 3-second boom bang
Mhm.
that we all want to do.
Yeah.
We all do this.
Yeah.
We just try to hit a site. That's called a bounce.
Mhm.
That's when you see your bounce percentage. That's the amount of people that are coming to your site and just leaving within 3, 4, 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So we want to keep them from bouncing off of our TikToks, all our videos, our landing pages, all of that, by keeping everything super concise, but more importantly, feeding it to them really simply. Making the text change on the screen every 3 seconds. Keeping things moving. If you're recording a direct to camera video, then it's the first thing you're going to say on that video is that hook. Did you know the top 3 ways to generate leads from TikTok in April 2023? If so, I'm going to give you 5 on this video. Number 1, right? That's what content has to be.
Yeah.
Here's 5 ways to generate 5 leads per day on TikTok. Number 1, you get right into it.
Mhm.
And I think that the importance of getting into it has been kind of lost on people. And we have not realized just how short attention spans have really gotten.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true. It's so true.
So, well, man, it's been great to talk to you, Erica, and you're rocking and rolling. People can find you over on Instagram. We've got your link up here for them to go over and check you out and follow you and support you and learn from you. What sort of advice do you want to leave to that person who was in your shoes just a few months ago when you were getting started?
Just kind of what I said earlier, starting is what gives you the confidence to move forward. So many people are so afraid to start because they think they need to know everything, but you're going to learn as you go. And what better way to learn as you're actively doing it? That's how you're going to retain it. And, it's the long game and you'll get there eventually,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. So true. All right. Well, be legendary, my friend. Come back and see me again soon. Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. You can follow and find Erica over on Instagram at Erica_tries_FDM. Okay. And we've got that up on the screen as well. Make sure to connect with that particular account. And as always, my friends, beware of the impersonators out there. There's a spike in impersonations. It's identity theft. Really, it's modern day identity theft. Just be careful, and that's why we like to have guests on the show. Let you hear it from them. Let you hear it directly from them. Have them share their correct links, and always make sure that we're taking this information from the right people and not having impersonators or these folks that direct messages us on the Facebook groups and want to kind of coach us privately in the DMs, and then it's be careful of those people in those kind of situations. All right, be careful of that. If you're new in this community, be careful of that. Okay, you're an entrepreneur. You have to also be aware of your surroundings and the fact that some very basic things for you to focus on in order to keep yourself safe. And that's basically when people are reaching out to you in DMs, be very skeptical. That's the number one thing. All right, my friends, we'll see you back here tomorrow for another episode. We do this every day. If you're brand new, if you're sitting on the show for the very first time and you're wondering, man, what is this? Is this real? What are they doing here? We've got nearly 700 of these interviews with wonderful, amazing, talented, motivated, and regular people, just like Erica this morning, people who are obviously ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And that's what we like. That's what legendary marketer is to us. It's not being a guru. It's not being the most important, most powerful, most popular, being the most famous. It's about, hey, what sort of, legacy are you leaving in your own life? Forget saving the world. I think a lot of people right now are just trying to save themselves and their families. And that is a great place to start. And it's also a great place to stay, right? And that's what we like to see, is people getting their time back, people getting the ability to be able to work where they want, with who they want, when they want, how they want, instead of for somebody that they don't like and doing something that they don't feel great about, or maybe they just feel exhausted, or many of the other reasons why people have shared why they got started. But either way, tap in. And if you're, wondering, hey, is this all real? Feel free to go back through. Again, 700 episodes ranging from 30 to 60 minutes. I'm not saying there's 700 hours, but there's at least 300 hours, but there's 700 interviews you can listen to and listen for yourself. The reason why we do things the way we do them, we have a challenge, a 15-day challenge. We offer it for $7 so you can get an appetizer and you can decide if you want to take this more seriously. Maybe you want to take our enroll in our Blueprints program for more education and accountability, or maybe you want to take the skills that you learn and apply them in another niche on another business. However, wherever, it doesn't matter to us. This is modern day education for the entrepreneur who wants it, not needs it. We all need it, but for the entrepreneur who wants it, who wants to make a change. If that's you, welcome home. We'll see you back tomorrow for another episode. Peace.